Hi, everybody. My name is Tom, and today we're going to talk about CIB 7 versus Camunda 8 and 7. I'm here with Ryan from Summit 58, a ZIP partner and an expert in BPMN software with over 28 years of experience, as well as Oleg, product owner of the CIB 7 with over 15 years of experience in software development. Our LinkedIn profiles are in the description. Quick introduction of CIB. We have over 35 years of experience generating more than 2 billion documents a year with over 300 clients in 7 locations. With around 150 employees, and very important, we are 100% self-funded. So no dependency on investors. Without further ado, let's jump right in the first question. So let's start with you, Ryan. You can start telling us a little bit about what CIB 7 is and who it is designed for. How has the workflow automation landscape changed over the past few years, and where does CIB 7 fit into this landscape? Ryan, thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it. So CIB 7 is a fork of Camunda 7 by a very reputable company with a strong track record, as Tom just outlined, for CIB. It is a faithful fork of Camunda 7 in that it is a direct fork of the Camunda software. Your Camunda 7 code, your applications will move directly over to CIB 7 with no issues. And really, CIB is the best company to take the baton from Camunda in terms of the Camunda 7 code base, which is now a code base that has lived for about 16 years when you count activity and Camunda and now CIB 7. So we believe strongly that Summit 58 believes, obviously CIB believes as well, that CIB 7 is the right fork for any users of Camunda 7 who are concerned about the lack of support moving forward for Camunda 7 from Camunda Services GmbH. And we just believe that most users and most companies should move to CIB 7. We'll get into more details later. We'll talk about Camunda 8. We'll talk about Camunda 7 and CIB 7. But that's kind of a quick overview. In terms of the landscape, I think the landscape has always been a combination of what I would call the closed source tools like Appian or maybe the BPM suites. We used to use that terminology with Gartner. Products like Appian, IBM BPM, Pegasystems, those are the suites that are out there. Those tend to provide full solutions in that they can be rapid application development solutions. You build your full UIs, you have your full portals, you have monitoring, you have everything you need. The problem with those tools is they typically don't integrate well into an existing application architecture. Camunda, CIB 7, those typically integrate very well into an existing application architecture. And for that reason, they've done very well in the landscape. And I believe CIB 7 is going to take that baton from Camunda 7. And I believe it's going to get significant adoption in the next couple of years. And you'll see that it'll be a very, very strong open source process automation tool moving forward. Tom?
Thank you, Ryan. Very good answer. Now we got to move on with the next question for Oleg. Can you tell us a little bit about the recent challenges you faced with CIB 7 and how the team solved it?
Thank you, Tom. So generally, we've started the CIB 7 journey last year as we forked it from the Camunda, and the first things to do have been just to create the infrastructure around it, to create the CI processes, to run the builds, run the tests, set up everything prepared for the distribution, like packaging in our package names, then changing the namespace to Oxy7 to be able to release it also to the Maven Central. And that was the first steps mainly that we've done at the beginning of our journey. And then the next step was to add some our source code that we have created through last 5 years in the CIB company with our CIB Flow product. And so we've put it also under the same Apache license as an open source part of CIB 7 in the last release. And we're moving forward in our roadmap, and I hope it will be a good journey together.
Thank you. Yes, I believe that our open source task list or the cockpit are very, very important features that we are open and that we are offering open source now, which is very important. Ryan, how do you see the future of workflow automation evolving, and what role will CIB7 play in that future?
Yeah, I think just very briefly, something that Oleg said just struck me as very important, and I don't know that we've directly talked about it. Obviously, he mentioned it just now. CIB has been using Camunda 7, obviously now forked into CIB7 for some time now. So CIB, the company, has a lot of experience with the Camunda 7 code base and has extended it in the past. So this is a strength of CIB, and I think it's why CIB is so well positioned to move forward. One of the reasons why CIB is so well positioned to move forward with this fork. So I won't belabor that point. I will ask the question you asked me, Tom, or answer the question you asked me.
Go for it.
I believe that overall, the software landscape is changing such that you see fewer and fewer monolithic enterprise applications that are out there. So when we talk about the BPM suites, I think those are starting to go away. You know, people are not making the decision to buy an Appian or a Pega or an IBM BPM anymore because they have a bunch of solutions in their landscape that provide monitoring. They provide other features and other capabilities depending on their architecture. And I think they want tools like CIB7 that are going to give them the ability to very easily integrate workflow automation capabilities into their landscape. CIB7 gives them the ability to do additional things, such as build forms very easily. And when you have some extensions that are coming in the marketplace pretty soon, you'll be able to do some low-code development. So you'll have the option to do all of those things. But the ability to take CIB7, the engine that is within CIB7, and use it to power your workflow automation, regardless of what systems you have, I think is going to be strong. I really think that's where workflow automation is going, and CIB7 is well positioned for that moving forward.
I think it's very important what you say, and altogether, CIB has more than 10 years of experience in Camunda, and the fork is something we do in regards for our customers that want this to be alive, and it's very important. Let's jump in one of the hot topics right away. Oleg, for Camunda 7, community is one of the most crucial factors when it comes to further development, hot fixes, debugging. Does CIB7 have any plans to integrate the community into the project?
Yes, of course. So from what I've seen in the code that I found, many parts of Camunda 7 have been written as a community extensions by different people using Camunda as a community edition. And we hope to proceed in the same manner. So we have mainly, in the first place, we have took only the parts we have converted to CIB7, only the parts that we and our customers needed, the customers of CIBflow. And now at the beginning of this year, we've seen that other people have been asking us about some community extensions that have been out there that we have not been using till now. And some of people have already helped us to migrate them to CIB7, and we have created a small community hub where we've forked also some of the community projects being there. And we hope that starting from this point, we can continue working together with the people who are using CIB7 Community Edition now. This is as for the extensions that are out there, but also as for the debugging or hotfixes. So we are receiving already now some response from the people who are using CIB7, be it through discussions or some issue reports, and it helps us enormous to make our product better.
That's awesome to hear, Oleg. Very, very nice. Community is one of the most important things, and it's awesome that CIB is taking this very serious. Which brings me to my next question, Ryan. What support options do exist right now for CIB7?
We have several support options that exist for CIB 7 for various types of users. I think the most important thing first is to say that it is Apache licensed. You have the ability to use the community version without paying CIB for support. And the advantage there is you have digital sovereignty. You have the ability to run your own applications without any vendor lock-in, without the worry of having to pay some ridiculous amount of money, if for whatever reason CIB decided to do that in the future. Now, CIB is very cost-effective when it comes to support right now, but you have the option to move to the community version at some point if anything happens. That is important. That's critically important for organizations to maintain digital sovereignty. But in terms of versions, in addition to community, CIB also offers Community Plus and LTS right now, where Community Plus gives companies more frequent releases instead of releases about every 6 months, as is the Camunda 7 tradition, and CIB 7 is continuing that tradition. You get releases every couple of months, 1 month to 2 months. In addition to that, you get security patches. All right, so you get, for a very cost-effective amount of money, certainly happy to talk to you guys about that, you get those security patches automatically. You get more frequent releases. And you can move up to LTS. LTS gives you the ability to get support, where you get hot fixes for any issues that come up, and you have options in terms of SLAs. And then there's a longer maintenance period for those releases. So if you have LTS and you get a new release, you can run it for at least 18 months after the next release comes out to be able to get that support as necessary. Moving forward, we're going to have an enterprise version. We'll have an OEM version as well. Oleg, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that, but the enterprise version will come out later this year. And there we'll have feature parity with the cockpit, enterprise edition cockpit with Camunda 7 by roughly the end of this year.
Very valuable information right there, Ryan. You guys can also check out our website, which is linked down below, where we have all this information written down again for you guys. Let's move on. Oleg, I got a very interesting question for you. How does the architecture of CIB 7 differ from Camunda 7 and Camunda 8, especially in terms of workflow engine design and technology stack?
As for the differences between the CIB 7 and Camunda 7 edition, they are not so big at first. So generally, we have started with the same code base. The only difference that we have, we are deprecating and removing the old front ends that Camunda 7 has, in sense of they have unsupported AngularJS framework there, and we are replacing them with our front ends that are written in Vue.js 3 version. And additionally to that, so what we have created at Flow was we're deploying Flow at our customers in the Kubernetes through the Helm charts. So some of the parts that we are currently adding, they're targeting more such distributed solution as deployment in Kubernetes, but by still staying with a small and performant engine below that. As for Camunda 8, Camunda has changed the architecture pretty much between Camunda 7 and Camunda 8. They went into the cloud business, into the software as a service deployments, and of course it is a good strategy for some use cases, but there is a difference between Camunda 7 and 8 at this place, in sense of it's cannot be used in the same manner it was before. So migration is needed, but we'll probably talk about that later.
Thank you, Oleg. Very good input. Let's talk about the next question I got for Ryan, because right of this topic, I'm thinking, why is CIB 7 a compelling upgrade for existing Camunda users?
Yeah, and I think we should take this in two different contexts. So first of all, from a business context, why is CIB 7 a compelling upgrade? Well, if you look at Camunda's plan for Camunda 7 in roughly October of this year, so just in a few months, right? I guess 4 months technically from when we're recording this. In 4 months, they're going to take Camunda 7 closed source. the open source project is going to be archived. And that just means that the product will become a closed source product. They will continue to provide extended support for their customers, and any issues that come up will be fixed, but they'll only be fixed for their extended support customers, and they will be the only people that will ever get those fixes. So essentially, that is the last release you can get as a user of Camunda 7. You would have to pay Camunda. And if you think about Camunda's motivation moving forward, this is always a good thing to do. People are going to act and companies are going to act in their own best interests. Camunda wants you to move to Camunda 8. So what's going to stop them from raising your prices for Camunda 7 enterprise support? Nothing, quite frankly. I mean, we don't know that they're going to raise those prices. We've seen them raising those prices so far. We don't know that they're going to continue to do it, but their motivation is to do that. So there's a lot of risk involved in that process from a business standpoint. So I would say, the fact that you can move to CIB 7 and get the exact same code base and your applications will simply work and you'll have better user interfaces. It makes it a compelling upgrade from a business standpoint. From a technical standpoint, I already stole my own thunder here. The applications will work, right? You'll be able to move stuff directly over from Camunda 7 to CIB 7. There won't be any issues with that. And you get the additional UI features. And when you get those additional UI features, you don't have to do anything to get them. They just come for free with your new version of CIB 7. So it's a compelling upgrade for a whole bunch of different reasons.
Thank you. Yes, I definitely think that the UI is a big USP of CIB 7. Let's get on to my next question that I have. What process modeling standards like BPMN, DMN, CMMN are natively supported by CIB 7 versus Camunda 7 and Camunda 8? Oleg, can you answer this question for me?
I could try at least. So generally, all of these standards are supported in Camunda 7, more or less in Community Edition or in Enterprise Edition. So what do we have in the CIB 7 as a fork of the Camunda 7? We have the support of BPMN and DMN out of the box. And it is supported through our new front end additionally. As for the CMMN, this part is only supported in Camunda 7 in the Enterprise Edition. So we do plan, as a part of our Enterprise Edition releases till end of this year, to provide also support for this. But we are not quite sure how many people need that currently. We have to find it out. And as for the Camunda 8, they are not supporting CMMN at all. So they have support for BPMN and DMN, but not for the CMMN.
That's very interesting. We're hearing a lot now the CIB 7 Enterprise Edition, and we are usually more common use the Camunda 7 Enterprise Edition. So we already heard that it's going to be more or less the same features, but what does CIB 7 going to have as additional features? Ryan, can you give us a little bit more info about that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know Oleg and his team are hard at work on building out the enterprise features that will come in later this year. So if you think, just very briefly, if you think about Camunda 7 and the difference between their community edition and their enterprise edition, the differences are exclusively in cockpit, right? So their cockpit tool is very different when you think about the cockpit for enterprise edition and the cockpit for community edition. We are going to have feature parity there by the end of the year. So in the cockpit that we offer in CIB 7, you're going to get the same features that you have in the cockpit in Camunda 7 Enterprise Edition. But in addition to that, you're going to get some additional features. You're going to start to get access to a marketplace shortly after the end of this year. By the end of this year, you will have access to a web modeler, which is not something Camunda provides with Camunda 7. It is something that is offered with Camunda 8. So both Camunda 8 and CIB 7 will have compelling web modelers with obviously all the capabilities that you would expect from a web modeler. Basically, it's all the capabilities that exist there in the fat client Camunda modeler application with a lot more repository behind it, things like that. So there's going to be a lot of good features there. Again, you're going to have feature parity from a cockpit perspective, but you're also going to see a lot of additional features as we move forward.
And maybe from my side, I can add something. So we are also working currently on the new product called CIB Insight. It will be something that will do the analysis of the processes, help people to understand their performance and how it's working. And it is similar to Camunda Optimize, so what they had in the Enterprise Edition for also supporting the operations in the background. And of course, we have further ideas how to proceed starting from this Enterprise Edition at the end of this year. We have also plans for the marketplace, and in order to do that, we have some ideas how to change the architecture in order to be able to make it more extendable.
Very interesting, very cool additional features, very solid. Sounds very, very interesting. The next question I have when we hear at architecture, CIB and Camunda 8 is going all in on cloud native. How do deployment options, scalability, and cloud native capabilities compare between CIB 7 and the two versions of Camunda? Oleg, can you give us a little bit more info about this?
So, as I've already said, we have created the flow generally as Kubernetes deployment out of the box. So we have also the possibilities how to create it in more scalable manner, and this parts that we have in the flow, some of them are moving to CIB 7, and our current deployments, our internal deployments or our production deployments on the customer side, they're also done in the Kubernetes through the Helm charts. So we are already, so to say, similar to Camunda 8 in sense of cloud capability. Of course, we have only the engine that is running directly and not through some protocols like CIB. But we can take a look at this in the future, in the next years, and we can find the ways to create similar performance boosts, asynchronous communication by still preserving the backwards compatibility to the current version.
Thank you, Oleg. We are talking about all the time about Camunda 7 and Camunda 8. Ryan, what would be involved in an upgrade from Camunda 7 to Camunda 8?
So Oleg has referenced the application, or I'm sorry, the architecture for Camunda 8 several times. He's talked about the fact that the architecture is very different when it comes to Camunda 8. Just very briefly, so the Camunda 8 platform is, quote, cloud native, which is an interesting term. It seems to me in a lot of cases, cloud native just means it's built in kind of a modular fashion so that you have the ability to use something like Kubernetes to manage different components of the environment individually. That can add some complexity. When it comes to the way Camunda 8 is architected, it does add some complexity. There are a lot of different components that you have to start and get working together in order to get Camunda 8 running. Whereas with Camunda 7, you basically just run Camunda 7. You run one engine and you get access to everything that you need within Camunda 7. The architecture is completely different, completely different. They didn't take the code from Camunda 7, break it up and create Camunda 8. They actually created it from scratch. And Camunda 8 was originally built to be like a relational database independent workflow automation system, with the idea being that the relational database was an inhibiting factor to performance. Is it? Yes, but when you're using a process automation platform, you need to have the ability to search very easily for things like user tasks that just need the capabilities that exist within relational databases. So a move from Camunda 7 to Camunda 8 means you have to completely redevelop everything to move to Camunda 8. There is no migration path. There are no tools that allow you to move easily from Camunda 7 to Camunda 8. The only thing you can preserve is the structure of the BPMN models themselves. The structure it follows the BPMN 2.0 standard, but the extensions that allow for execution in Camunda 7 or that allow for execution in Camunda 8 are completely different. Those just have to go completely away. And if you manually delete those within the XML file, now you can take that XML file and open it in the web modeler for Camunda 8 and then add those custom extensions. But you have to do that manually. So the migration is pretty significant. And I wouldn't call it an upgrade from Camunda 7 to Camunda 8. I'd call it a migration, whereas I would call it an upgrade from Camunda 7 to CIB 7, because it's just like an upgrade from one minor version, such as 7.22 to 7.23 with Camunda 7.
Yes. Thank you, Ryan. We already talked about the topic marketplace. So I want to grab it up and say what integration options like APIs, connectors, message brokers, REST, or SOAP are available in CIB 7 compared to Camunda 7 and Camunda 8. Oleg, can you take a turn on that?
Yes, so generally we have the support of the same connectors that Camunda 7 had, and mainly HTTP connector or every connector that has been written through the community in the last years. And additional to that, we are planning to go in the direction of AI integration in the next year. And so also such terms as MCP should also be available in the CIB 7. And as for the Camunda 8, I'm currently not sure which connectors are available there. I have not took a look at that.
Okay, no problem. We still have a second episode to discuss all of this stuff.
Yes.
We already mentioned the term open source quite a bit in the phrase digital sovereignty. Maybe we can take another turn on that. Ryan, Camunda 8, is it going to be open source?
So let me take a step back for just a second and talk about what we mean by open source. Because open source, strictly speaking, if you're saying open source, the idea, if you're not familiar with all the baggage that is open source today, you would think, oh, okay, well, that means I can see the source code. Okay, it does mean that, but it means other things to different people. So the Apache license, specifically the Apache Software Foundation version 2 license, but we usually call it the Apache license, is the license that is in place for Camunda 7 Community Edition as well as CIB 7. That is a very permissive license, meaning you can take it and you can run it in production without paying the vendor for that software, right? So it's a very permissive open source license. The license that Camunda 8 uses for CIB, only for the broker portion, which really is the engine that runs the BPMN 2.0, makes the source code source available. And the reason we say source available is you cannot run the CIB application with all of the components that exist in production without paying Camunda for the ability to do that. Now, could you use the CIB broker in production? Yes, but you don't get any of the additional capabilities. Operate, which is the equivalent to Camunda 7 cockpit, task list, which is obviously the equivalent to Camunda 7 task list. You can't use those. You would have to build your own in order to run Camunda 8 in production without paying Camunda, and you cannot build a cloud offering using Camunda 8. So there's a lot of restrictions there. Whereas when you're thinking about what you can do with Camunda 7, what you can do with CIB 7, you have the Apache license, which is very permissive, and you have the ability to run it in production with the user interfaces that are offered by both of those tools. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely makes sense. We're talking about task list here, interface features. So I got the question right now for you, Oleg. For end users and administrators in CIB 7 versus the Camunda task list and operators, are they open source? And maybe you can tell us anything about this.
Yes, so generally we have created the same structure currently in CIB 7. In CIB Flow it was a little bit different. So we have also such components as task list administration and the cockpit, just to for people to be simpler to find the same parts of the front end. And yes, so we have released them in our version 2.0 as under Apache license, so they are fully open source and can be used in the community edition right away. And we have even added some additional features, like for example, in the cockpit we have historical processes that have been finished already. That is a little bit different. Camunda had it only in the enterprise version. And yeah, so we will be moving on, adding also this web modeler to that part, that it will be much more powerful in the end.
History version definitely is a powerful feature. Let's take it back a step and talk about Camunda 7 and Camunda 8. How is administering and managing a Camunda 8 instance different than administering and managing a Camunda 7 instance? Ryan.
Yeah, I think what's important too is we're answering this question, or as I'm answering this question, and maybe Oleg might have some things to add to it. I don't know, but Camunda 7, administering and managing a Camunda 7 instance is going to be very, very similar to administering and managing a CIB 7 instance. Obviously, with CIB 7, you have updated interfaces. We're going to continue to improve those interfaces, but from a technical standpoint, when you think about the architecture, very similar. Camunda 7 and CIB 7. Camunda 7 and Camunda 8 are not similar. Right? Those are very different. And when you think about the experience of installing and starting to run Camunda 7 versus installing and starting to run Camunda 8, it's an entirely different ballgame. Camunda 7, you can download, you can unzip it, and you can run it. You might want to change where you're pointing to from a relational database standpoint, but you can run it, and it's going to run lightning fast process instances right out of the box, right? You're going to get to a very high level of performance right away. There's very little tuning that is required for the vast majority of companies. Camunda 8, when you look to set it up, if you're looking to set it up on premise, there's a lot of work that's involved. You have a lot of components that you have to set up. You have to set some configurations so that you don't have conflicting ports, for example, between operate and task list. There's just a lot of maintenance that needs to be done. It can be done by somebody with experience in setting up Camunda 8 in a couple of hours. But even there, when I run a Camunda 8 instance and I try to run process instances in it, they're going to run more slowly than they're going to run out of the box in Camunda 7 based on our testing. Now, can you fix that? Yes, you can fix it. But a lot of manual tuning is required in order to get to the point where you're running very quickly with Camunda 8. In theory, to be fair, in theory, you should be able to, if you spend a lot of time tuning and administering your Camunda 8 instance, you should be able to run more instances in Camunda 8 versus Camunda 7. However, from our experience, the number of companies that need that volume handling capability, I mean, you're really talking about like intelligence processing organizations, like the sometimes infamous U.S. Central Intelligence Agency or NSA, or companies that are doing algorithmic trading. Those are the only types of companies that we have experienced typically need that type of volume handling capability. And why would companies that don't need that type of volume handling capability deal with the maintenance overhead and the administration overhead of trying to set up Camunda 8 for handling their type of volume, which is not something they have to worry about with Camunda 7 or CIB 7.
These are very, very reasonable arguments right here. Oleg, you got something to add to this between the managing of instances between Camunda 7 and Camunda 8, maybe from a more technical point of view?
So generally, only that I have said earlier that additionally to the standard distributions that Camunda 7 had, coming from the flow direction, we have also the possibility to deploy it in the Kubernetes, be it in a more native manner. But it's not that much difference between CIB 7 and Camunda 7.
So it's pretty easy to set up and it runs right out of the box. That's very, very good. How easy would you say is it to extend or customize CIB 7 compared to Camunda 7 or Camunda 8, Oleg?
So, first of all, as I've mentioned previously, this community extensions that we already have. There are many of them in kind of plugins that can be added to the engine itself. So some of them can work out of the box without the migration from a Camunda namespace to CIB7 namespace. Some of them we or our community are migrating currently and will do it also in the future. As for some scripting extensions, Engine allows to do some extensions, be it in the JavaScript language or Groovy or Python or R, and it is also preserved in CIB7 and can be used in the same manner. So, mainly the external tasks, service tasks that are there, they can be used out of the box and they can be extended in the same manner. So there will be a problem with the front-end plugins because since we're changing the framework, we cannot support AngularJS old plugins that are already there. But on the other hand, when we are creating the Enterprise Edition right now, and since we are extending CIB7 in the flow, we are already creating some extensions points for ourselves. And in this way, so first of all, this extensions point can be used by the community right out of the box to write own extensions. And people that want to write their own front-end plugins can do it in the same manner as it's an open source Apache project as we are doing it currently. And in the future, as I've said, we have the plans, we have some architecture and even started some currently still private repositories for extending the user tasks that we would need for our marketplace. And it will be also possible for people to write their own user tasks.
Thank you, Oleg. I want to pick up maybe the topic again from Ryan. You said that BPMN models from Camunda 7 will not work in Camunda 8. Only there is a visual, only the visual part is still interesting. Why is that? Because BPMN 2.0 is a standard, right?
Yeah, and maybe it would be helpful to pick another platform that supports BPMN 2.0. So Flowable, and specifically a Flowable Enterprise tool, supports the BPMN 2.0 standard as well. And if you think about all of those platforms, so Flowable Enterprise, Camunda 7, CIB7, that work the same way in terms of architecture, and Camunda 8, they are all going to support the BPMN 2.0 standard. However, they all have their own custom extensions to BPMN 2.0 that allow you to execute those models. So what that means is you can't take a model that was created in Flowable Enterprise and move it over and use it in CIB7. You can't take a model that was created in CIB7 and move it over and use it in Camunda 8. You can take that XML file and remove all of the extensions, right? If you remove all the extensions, then in all three cases, you can take BPMN 2.0 files and you can move them over to the other platforms, but they will not be executable. You'll be able to open them. There's some exceptions when you move to the Flowable modeler, but you'll be able to open them in the modelers in the various tools, but you'll have to manually go in and add the execution components that allow those models to actually execute. And there really is no difference. Actually, the extension elements that you would need to add when you compare Flowable Enterprise to CIB7 or Flowable Enterprise to Camunda 7, they're going to be more similar than the extension elements that you'll see from Camunda 7 to Camunda 8, which is interesting. And I think that underscores the fact that Camunda 8 is just a vastly different platform that has just been built from scratch and has, essentially no relation to the Camunda 7 platform.
Maybe Oleg, we can compare a little bit more Camunda 7 with Camunda 8 in the published benchmark or real-world performance metrics and compare CIB7 towards it. What do you think about it?
So generally, since I'm working on the software development part of it and not on the production usage, I don't have some comparison benchmarks between the Camunda 7, Camunda 8, at least I don't know if something is available out there. As for the CIB 7 and Camunda 7, we are similar from the architecture. So, the architectural difference that Ryan has already mentioned, it gets to the point that for the smaller processes so Camunda 7 and CIB 7 in the same manner, they can handle it more quickly. As we need some throughput, as people may need some throughput, then maybe Camunda 8 is better in sense of their architecture out of the box. But still, I think as we will be proceeding with our development through the next years, we will also provide a more asynchronous manner to work with the CIB 7 engine, and we will get the same performance benchmarks as Camunda 8 may have currently in some big installations. But on our side, what we are doing, we have with the flow also some installations where millions of % instances are running through the CIB flow, and we have not seen any big performance issues there.
We already talked about the upgrade from Camunda 7 to Camunda 8, Ryan. Maybe we can talk a little bit about the upgrade from Camunda 7 to CIB 7.
Yeah, so the upgrade from Camunda 7 to CIB 7 is a simple technical upgrade. I'm also going to say, I'm going to talk about the business context because I think this is important when it comes to the user interfaces. But from a technical perspective, all you have to do when you're moving from Camunda 7 to CIB 7 is change the namespace in your Java classes and potentially in your scripts such that you're referring to org.cib7 instead of org.camunda. That's all you have to do. It's a simple search. You can do a simple search and replace in all your files. You can do it at one time. I've done that myself in applications that I've built for Camunda 7, and it's a painless process to do that. You do also, if you have projects where you've set up Spring Boot, for example, the pom.xml file with Maven, you'll have to change some of those dependencies as well. So not just in your classes and your scripts, but also in your pom.xml file. You'll have to make those changes, but they're very simple changes to make, and it'll just work. At that point, your models will work. You don't have to make any changes to your models. The only exception there is if you have embedded script code and you have specific class references there, you may have to change those. From a business standpoint, you will have to train your users to use a different user interface. The new user interfaces in CIB 7 are more intuitive and easier to use, in my opinion, than the old user interfaces in Camunda 7. But that is something to think about. People are going to have to find the new locations for the buttons and the features within the user interface. But it's intuitive. I think it's very intuitive in the new user interfaces that we have in CIB 7.
Thank you. That's very, very awesome for me because I want to move all my Camunda 7 processes over to CIB 7. So maybe let's talk a little bit about the technical standpoint. Meanwhile, doing that, we already had a very interesting case where a customer who upgraded to Camunda 8 downgraded or upgraded it to CIB 7, which we're going to post something later on. Maybe you can keep track on our website or our case studies, which is very, very interesting. But in the meanwhile, maybe we can talk a little bit about technical challenges and requirements for migrating processes or data between Camunda 7 or 8 or CIB 7. What do you say, Oleg?
So generally, I have not done any migrations from Camunda 7 to Camunda 8. of the processes or whatever. But we have tried out Camunda 8 at the beginning. We had also even the flow running on the Camunda 8. The flow was designed to be able to connect to different business process engines at the beginning. So now we have CIB7 as a main one. But as for the upgrading from Camunda 7 to CIB7, we are trying to keep it as simple as possible. We have created an open rewrite project that has helped us. We have just run this project upon our Git projects that we have for different CIB modules that have been created through the years and that are used as extensions in the CIB flow that creates this low-code platform that can be used without any code written necessary. So we have done this migration by ourselves with this tool, and we have also some feedback from the users of CIB7 who have switched to CIB7 that they have done it also successfully. So this is the first part of it. The second one that Ryan has already partly mentioned, as for the scripting, if we had or someone could have in the business process BPMN files the scripts that are using Camunda namespace. We also provide some support to convert to load our CIB7 classes directly. So even the scripts created previously can run out of the box. The next part would be some serialization topics. If some Camunda objects are saved in the database, it is same here. So we are currently working on this migration step. If someone would need it, it will be also, everything is configurably, can be turned on and off if no one needs that. So we can also deserialize Camunda objects. So we are trying to do this migration process, to enable this migration process as simple as possible.
That sounds very promising. We already talked about Camunda 8 being very cloud native. Does Camunda offer a cloud hosting solution for Camunda 8? And can all the components be hosted by Camunda? Ryan, what's your turn on that?
Yes, just very briefly on the cloud native topic. So Camunda 7 will run very well in the cloud, just like CIB7 will run very well in the cloud. It's just not as modular as Camunda 8. So, this is my opinion, right? So my opinion is cloud native just means you got modularization of those components. You have the ability to take little individual pieces of a solution and host them separately and manage them separately. Camunda 8 definitely does that. There are some advantages to that. I think there's significant disadvantages in terms of complexity, but just wanted to address that regarding cloud native. CIB7 will run very well in the cloud. So I wanted to dispel any concerns about that. Camunda does have a very good cloud hosting solution for Camunda 8. It's a strong solution. I've worked with it directly. It's very easy to use from a cloud perspective. The rub is that you can't run all of your components for Camunda 8 in the cloud. So just with the way Camunda 8 works, a lot of your code has to run as job workers. They used to be called ZB workers. Now they're job workers. Those job workers run not just in Java, although that's the most common platform for them. You can run them in Go, you can run them in a whole different set of languages. So it supports a polyglot environment, but they have to run separately. And Camunda will not host those job workers for you. So if you're paying Camunda to host Camunda 8 in the cloud, you get the hosting of the broker. They'll manage the broker and the brokers for you, and that's great. So that takes a lot of the architectural complexity away, but you still need to scale your job workers. You still need to host your job workers. So that means paying them to manage Camunda 8 in the cloud using quotes, because you're not really managing the whole thing in the cloud, doesn't mean you don't have to manage things on premise. You just don't have to manage the entire solution on premise. You just manage your job workers. So it's good that people have that understanding, eyes wide open, going into a Camunda 8 installation. But with that said, yes, the Camunda 8 cloud solution, aside from that significant architectural caveat, is a very good solution.
We're on topic at cloud right now, so I want to give it to Oleg right away. Does CIB offer a cloud hosting solution for CIB 7?
Currently, we do not provide such hosting solution for CIB 7, but we do it with the CIB Flow. So if any company would need it, we can also provide such hosting solution for CIB 7. So we are open for it. And CIB 7 is hosted as a solution as a service in the cloud inside of the CIB Flow at our customers right away.
That's very interesting. Do cloud hosting customers need to host any portion of their solution outside of CIB 7 servers themselves, Oleg?
Generally not. So only one scenario that I could think of, if they want to use some external tasks, some private information that should be only on their own infrastructure, this can be possible. But generally, if it's not needed, everything can be hosted inside of our solution.
And how does the community support options and licensing models compare among CIB 7, Camunda 7, and Camunda 8? Oleg.
Licensing models. What we do have, we have these different versions of support that Ryan has already talked previously. So we have additional layer of Community Plus edition that will enable the support, the more recent releases of the security fixes and bug fixes, also for the community edition. But for the CIB, this is the difference to Camunda 7, and so generally the CIB 7 Enterprise Edition and CIB Flow should be licensed separately since it's a paid product.
Thank you. Ryan, do you want to add something to it?
No, I think Oleg answered it very well.
Perfect. What is the roadmap right now for CIB 7, and how does its ecosystem, add-on integrations, documentation compare with those from Camunda?
So as for the roadmap, till end of this year, we want to catch up with all the features that are needed in the enterprise for the enterprise customers, like working with the big amounts of process instances at the same time, like batch processing, the same as monitoring, and so we have to do that till end of this year. That's why we are not working on too many new features in parallel. But still, the ideas are there, end of this year, starting next year, to create the marketplace. So we will be working on that direction and making it more extendable in this manner. Another big topic is, of course, AI. So we are currently using the AI models here at CIB, be it just normal LLMs or some CIB-specific OCR modules like Deeper. We're using them through CIB Flow as is, but in the future, in the end of this year, starting next year, we'll be working more and more in that direction.
You already talked about an enhanced batch operation support process managing and the monitoring in CIB 7. How will these improve users' daily work?
So I think it is different for the enterprise customers and for people who just want to use Community Edition for some smaller amount of processes. So the community users, they can afford stopping, starting, restarting a single process instances or deleting them one by one. And for the enterprise customers, it is definitely needed to do it in a batch manner, because if, I don't know, 500 process instances are running on some issue and should be restarted in the operations, it is the matter of money and the matter of seconds that is really important to have such batch process operations. And we understand the reasons why Camunda has created such enterprise features, and we will be implementing and creating similar and extended enterprise features for such customers.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that SIBs, just like Camunda 7, SIB 7 would have the capability to execute those batch operations. It simply doesn't have the UI to support them, right? So you don't have the ability to go in and manage the batch operations within the user interface that is the cockpit version in Camunda 7 Community Edition, or the cockpit version right now in SIB 7 2.0 Community. It's there, you just don't have the UI to do it. Moving forward with SIB 7 Enterprise, we will have the UI components, just like the cockpit in Enterprise Edition with Camunda 7 does.
That's a very, very interesting topic to hear, to end it right now hot. I want to thank you, Ryan. I want to thank you, Oleg, for your time and for your input right here. It was a very interesting talk. I want to thank you guys, everybody who made it to the end, everybody who's hot on the topic. I hope to see you in the community and elsewhere. I want to say thank you to you guys and have a good week, and whatever you need, drop a comment below. Thank you guys so much, and see you here for the next episode. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, folks.